a long 9 to 5. I hope you're having a good night as we bring to you another Bodyslam Talktagon edition of UFC on ESPN 72, I believe this was. Another card in the Apex, and it very much surprised all of us who definitely tuned in for this. Because usually the UFC Apex cards, as Max and I know, they don't always try to deliver. It tends to be much of a clusterfuck whenever we do tune in.
Yeah,
But this past weekend was a lot of fun. Max, my friend, how are you doing?
doing fantastic. I was a little sad we're doing back-to-back Apex cards, but at least the only good part about the Apex is that it has a small cage, so sometimes the fights end up being pretty solid. But yeah, dude, this especially was a great card, man. So much action to talk about and break down, and can't wait to get more into it as we go.
You're completely right about that. Plus, a lot of things happened this morning.
Yeah,
I thought we were going to start off our week with, talking about like, the Apex card, but instead now we're talking about the UFC and their massive deal with Paramount and CBS Sports. No one knows, now you do. Paramount is the streaming service. Paramount Plus is a streaming service to CBS and CBS Sports, all that jazz. And this morning, Dana White, the UFC president, announced a 7-year, $7.7 billion deal, which is massive.
crazy.
So, for those who don't know about the ESPN deal that they inked down in 2019 for 5 years, that will end at the end of the year, it was only for $1.5 billion for 5 years. Now they got an extra 2-year deal for 7 years with a huge bank account getting ready to be put in. Uh, and you already know this show is big because in our first like 10 fucking seconds, we got Randy.
Yeah,
We got fucking Randy. Let's
the
go.
goat.
Frank the Hog with Randy himself. Um, but yeah, massive freaking deal. Dana White. But this is not only just a massive deal for the UFC, it's a massive deal for fans because
Hmm.
if you have a Paramount subscription and you pay that every single month, you can watch every single UFC fight night and pay-per-view for free along with your subscription. So this should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
I'm a big fan of this because last week ESPN had announced that they were going to become the new streaming rights of the new media rights deal for the WWE, which means that now with ESPN Plus, for those in 2026, for starting in WrestleMania next April in Las Vegas for WrestleMania 42, fans and people will have to pay for 60 to 80, maybe even $100 pay-per-views from the WWE. And
Yeah, that is crazy.
if anyone watched SummerSlam and watched those 2 nights, you can immediately tell that was no 80 to $100 pay-per-view, and you can tell that this is going to be such a weird clusterfuck because it's wild that TKO has
Hmm.
WWE and UFC underneath, their banner, and UFC inks a deal where, hey, you can watch all the pay-per-views and all the library you want just for $10, $15 a month, whereas WWE now is entering the UFC model business where they are charging people 80 to $100 to watch some sports entertainment. I want to be entertained, but I don't want to be entertained for $100. If I
Yeah.
want to do that, I'd rather go to Las Vegas to a nightclub. But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to mention that. But
Yeah.
great deal. I think this is honestly, personally, a great deal for MMA fans, especially for those who watch every single weekend. And
Hmm.
you know how it goes. We're not gonna get too much into it because I don't want Dana White knocking on my door. But it tends to be a situation where um, you have to do so much to be able to get out of this card, and then you have to
Yeah.
watch the Apex cards, and then you have to watch all these different types of events.
Yeah.
Um,
For real, though.
and it
Hopefully this simplifies it, you know? Like,
it should simplify it and it should make things a lot better for MMA fans and UFC fans. I will say this, Paramount used to be the home to two promotions back then, like about like 5 years ago. It was for Bellator, before everything got, shut down, and it was for Combate Global, which was owned by the former owner to the UFC. He ran events there in Florida. And it was pretty good. But then they, I think, went to a different, network, and now a lot of these streaming services are gonna have to look into what they have to do, because Peacock, I heard they're trying to work out a deal with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, TNA Wrestling, to try to get themselves a deal there. WWE is going to ESPN, but they also have the Peacock deal and they have their Netflix deal. UFC fans now have a Paramount. Now they're gonna have to go to Paramount instead of paying like however much you pay for ESPN, because I don't pay shit for that. So like, I don't know, but all I know is that, Paramount should be fun. It's the home to a
Yeah.
lot of great. It's a home to a lot of great shows. Tosh.0, South Park, Celebrity Deathmatch, all the MTVs like Jersey Shore and Catfish. Like a lot of good things for the kids growing up. Bubble Guppies and Paw Patrol. Like people love that
Oh
shit.
yeah.
You know what I
Fuck
mean? So
yeah.
like, so it should be something else that we see.
Yeah. It's crazy the value, dude. Like you said, the ESPN one was like one billion, and now this one was how much?
Yeah, $7.7
7.
billion dollars.
Yeah. That just goes to show the
Yeah.
growth of the sport since that last deal to now. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we
5 year
can
difference.
hopefully
5 year
we can
difference,
get,
my man.
maybe more than 50G bonus, but who knows, dude? Who knows where that Billy's going? Probably mostly onto the blackjack table with Dana. We know how he likes to bet. So
Exactly.
so
It was
hopefully
so funny
some of it goes to the fighters, but we'll see. Time will tell.
when Renato Moicano, they're asking him, dude, like Dana White spends 200K at the blackjack table every night. You can just take that 200K. It won't bother you at all. And then the UFC even pushed for him to take that. Like, dude, just take
Yeah.
the money.
I don't
Go right
understand that,
ahead.
bro.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to, brother. Do you know how many hot
Bro.
dogs I could have bought with 200K? That's a lot of, especially in today's time. We're fucked.
Yeah.
You could get like 10 hot dogs at
Yeah, you
best.
don't get any cool bonus for turning down 200K for no reason.
You don't. I do want to open. Hold on, let me go. Because I just saw like a fight get announced real quickly, but I'm trying to. There it is. Um, Before we do get into all of this, there has been some fights that were announced in the past couple of days, the past couple of hours. At UFC Rio, which by the way, the headliner will be Rafael Fiziev against
Oliveira.
Charles Oliveira. Yes, I was like Oliveira. I was sitting in my head over and over. But Charles Oliveira for Rafael Fiziev will be headlining Rio de Janeiro. This is the first, I think, Oliveira main event there since 2020. And I know when that happened too. It was the same week that everything got shut down from COVID, and
Mm.
he was fighting Kevin Holland at this event. Kevin Holland was like, "I'm gonna kill Oliveira." He got choked out in like the second or third round, and Lee went to Khabib Nurmagomedov's promotion, Eagle MMA, and then tried to work his way back up, but it didn't work out. But Oliveira has definitely worked out, and now he gets to fight Rafael Fiziev. It's gonna be very freaking interesting because Rafael had a great performance in his last fight, but Charles is trying to get back to that title opportunity after getting slept by Elliot Topuria. So we should
Yeah.
see what happens next. But they just announced Vicente Luque will be back in action on October 11th at UFC Rio against Santiago Ponzinibbio. Two UFC vets, welterweight.
Yeah.
This should definitely be a fun one. I believe this is a welterweight. I don't think this would be at middleweight, so it should be a
Yeah.
lot of
That'd be
fun.
wild if he goes up.
It would be. And plus on top of that, like we mentioned the deal with Paramount. We mentioned the Charles Oliveira fight. This should definitely be. Armature Circuit also continues to send out shots at Paddy Pimblett. We got the bonuses from the event. But let's get right into the event because this was a fun one. And I feel like I'm
Yes,
yapping
sir.
a bit too much about
No.
off-topic stuff. We should definitely get right into what we need to talk about. So UFC on ESPN 72. This will be one of our very few ESPN Apex events now because now we gotta
Yeah,
prepare
one
for
of the
January.
last. Yeah.
We gotta prepare for January. I mean, here's the worst part: the Apex ain't going anywhere. So
Yeah. The
I heard
Apex
we're
is
getting
coming with the deal.
30 fight night events or 33 fight night events. I guarantee you 24 of them will be Apex events.
Yeah. They're like, we're bringing an
So
Apex in every state. We're no longer going to anywhere. We just build an Apex there and we're good to go.
exactly. But UFC had an Apex card this past weekend, and it was fun. Like literally fucking fun. Every fight had like a wow moment to it. I would say every fight except for maybe the opener,
Yeah,
because it did
the openers.
it definitely set off people on fire, including myself. I'm so glad I don't tweet a lot or I don't post a lot on my socials anymore like I used to, because I used to let everything be vocal. If I was watching this event, I'd be like, "You motherfucking idiot! Like you got like these judges are junkies."
Yeah,
And I
I'm
mean
like, come on.
and I mean that with no no respect whatsoever. I cannot look into because for some reason the UFC website is not working for the events on the Wikipedia. I can't see who the judges were, but when I do find that out, I'm
I
chopping
got
off
it.
my
I
leg.
got it. Ben
Yeah.
Cartlidge, Chris Lee, and Tony Weeks, the boxing ref. Crazy,
Huh.
but
Huh. No.
yeah.
Bastards. Get
Yeah,
out of
so
here.
the only one who got it right was Chris Lee, who had it 30-27 for Brundage. And then
Exactly,
the other
man.
two had it 29-28 for McConaughey. Interesting.
And I love how we got right into this. We were like, you know what? Cody Brundage got screwed, and it's the truth. Anyone who
Yeah.
watched that,
And
anyone's eyes
yeah.
go on.
And it's
Go on.
not just because we picked him.
No, not. Oh, which speaking of, let me pull that up.
It's not just because we picked him. We're
It's
slightly
not because we
salty.
picked him.
You would have had an undefeated fucking prelim if it wasn't for this shit.
Like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm tired of these bullshit people. I'm tired of them.
Rami
Like,
would have had this perfect, dude. Oh
I would have
my
had a second
god.
perfect card. That would have been the
Yeah.
second one of the year, and it would have been so sweet. But no, nothing sweet. Everything is sour.
Bro.
Like,
Ben Cartlidge, Tony Weeks. Come on, guys. What are you
I
doing?
will find you guys, and something will happen. But not nothing violent. But
We'll
something
show
will happen.
you. We'll give you the rule book and make sure you judge it properly, okay?
Exactly.
Nothing violent. We'll just hand deliver it to you. Make sure you see it.
It was the debut of Eric McConaughey against Cody Brundage, and a lot of people don't really like Cody Brundage because of the fact that he's won mostly off of DQs, and it's a very unlucky type of situation he's always involved with because his wins come at the most uncertain times, and you're just like, wow, I hope he can be able to, bounce back from that in a bigger way. And this was the performance where he did that. This was the performance where he had 2 rounds to 1, he dominated, and he looked so clean with it. And then the judges screwed him. But
Yeah. Total screw job.
and I don't a total screw job, and I don't know how to feel about it because of course Cody Brundage will most likely get another opportunity. It's not no more Team Boudet who's just signed with Octagon FC,
Yeah,
after
crazy.
a 7-fight win streak. It's more so just the constant like BS because in the last couple of fights for Cody Brundage, he had a overturned fight with Mansour Abdul Malik. Then he knocked out Julian Marquez, had a no contest with Abdul Razak Hassan, which is kind of crazy, like how those names like the draw and the overturn.
Yeah, that is kind
Gets
of
confused.
crazy.
Bo Nickel choked him out on April 13, 2024 at UFC 300. He beat Zach Reese and beat Jacob Malkoun in 2023. Like it's been a weird couple of 5 years because he's
Up and
winning
down.
fights. He's winning fights with all these submissions, and then he's winning fights with like overturned victories, disqualifications, draws, losses, and the losses come to some pretty good contenders, but then you also see it as like he's getting fucked over, he's getting screwed. Eric McConaughey should not be at fault here at all. This was actually his first UFC win, not his UFC debut. He did fight Norton Ruzarev, who's gonna be fighting this upcoming weekend.
Monster.
He got Exactly. He got hit with a right hook in the second round in the first 33 seconds, knockout in his UFC debut. Eric McConaughey came back, came back, and now defeats Cody Brundage with controversy. I do hope that they can run it back. I know we usually don't want that. There's been only very, very few instances where they would allow unranked fighters to run it back and say let them have it. I think this should be an instance where that happens because it should definitely be a featured prelim at this point, and it should definitely allow both men to see if they can actually walk out with a finish or a decisive win where the judges won't screw over the right man.
Yeah,
But
I'm not mad at that.
props to Eric McConaughey for making it, weight for making it to this fight light heavyweight. It's a tough division, especially when you keep getting up there. The worst division I feel in the UFC right now is the thinning one, which is heavyweight. Heavyweight is so bad right now, and a lot of people are getting cut from the division because they're trying to make room for Dana White's Contender Series so that we can be able to have more people come in from the heavyweights. But we're not. If we can get guys like more guys like Jamal Hill and and more guys like Khalil Roundtree, people up at heavyweight where they have all these sets of skills and they're not forcing themselves just to wrestle. Because Martin Boudet, we saw what happened with him. He had a 7-fight win streak, and he got caught.
Yeah, it's not enough anymore. Apparently, you have to be entertaining, and now the UFC apparently values that over winning at this point, where we have guys that are on massive losing streaks getting re-signed just because, at least they will be put on an entertaining fight. We don't even care if they win, but at least they can make a contender look like a badass by going through a crazy fight with him, and then he'll probably get knocked out, but at least he made the guy we want to look good. So it's definitely tricky. It's tricky where it's like a very fine balance between entertainment and sport, where it's kind of in that tricky. When in another sport, all that would matter is winning. They would not care about, this is bowling style. All that matters is the win. So I think that's kind of annoying. Well, I was kind of pissed that Boudet got released. I'm like, especially in a division like heavyweight where they don't really have anyone that good. So I'm like, at least this guy's getting wins consistently. I'm like, that's pretty hard to come by in heavyweight. These guys can't seem to get a streak going. So I was like, damn, they really don't care about winning. They just care about entertainment. So yeah, the fighters gotta start really considering that going forward, where it's like, okay, I can just be a journeyman and just be entertaining and try to get as many bonuses as possible, or I could just try to win but be boring, and then you might get cut when you're on a 7-fight win streak. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just crazy.
Exactly. Like they could have set him up against Derek Lewis if they wanted to punish him so badly.
Yeah.
They did that to Waldo Acosta Cortez. They just set him up against Sergey Pavlovich, and he's most likely gonna get knocked out cold. But like if that's the case, that's because they want to punish you so badly because you won in your last fight. We can't have that. Like okay, brother. But Cody Brundage loses by split decision 29-28, 30-27, and 29-28. Eric McConaughey takes the win on his first win in the UFC. Props to him for getting a win, but not props to him for the judge's screw up. No props to the judge. No props to the judge.
Fuck the judge.
And our next fight, I love how last week I pushed so hard. I was like, we need to see more women's fights because they're going to actually be more and more entertaining than we ever thought they would, especially over the men's fights. And this fight right here definitely was very, very entertaining. So we had Gabriela Fernandez against Julia Stoliarenko. Women's flyweight division. And I almost was concerned in the first round. Those Stoli kicks those leg kicks from Stoliarenko were really freaking nice. She was building it up, and I love what commentary ran by. She's trying to mix things up and not be like how she was before, where she would just start off the fight, shoot for the takedown, and it would just be failure after failure after failure. But things started to take a turn in the second half of the first round when Fernandez started landing those evil body kicks over and over. It shocked Stoliarenko at one point. Next round starts round 2. And I didn't see this. I don't know if you did, but how did Stoliarenko get cut? Was it in the final exchange of the first round, or?
Yeah, I'm not too sure the exact shot, honestly. Yeah, because I remember noticing, I'm like, where's that blood coming from? And then I saw her face. I'm like, oh. So yeah. I'm not 100% sure.
Her eyebrow was chugged and it was just leaking blood all over the place. I was like, holy freaking moly. And round 2, it was all Fernandez once again. Those body kicks and the coming into the exchanges and trying to land all these beautiful shots, left hooks, jabs, straight, anything she could to be able to stop Stoliarenko, who was like I mentioned Sergey Pavlovich, Stoliarenko. They could be siblings. They look like they could just. And I'm not saying they look alike or whatever, but I'm saying they look like they were both like those crazy meatheads that you see that are fucking like bashing through walls and going all over the place. So like she's very tough, especially when the blood was just leaking over. And I'm shocked because usually in UFC fights, if you see the blood leaking down into the fighter's eye, they stop it, they have to check it, they do all sorts of things. That wasn't the case here. It just said it was Ivan Drago from Rocky 3 moment. If he dies, if she dies, she dies.
For real.
That's what we saw. What were your thoughts on this fight, and what were your thoughts on the unanimous decision win for Fernandez after she dominated the 3 rounds?
Yeah, it was definitely a dominant performance, but I was almost expecting a little bit I was almost expecting a finish, but I don't blame her because Julia was so tough in there that night. It was like she's not going nowhere. So it was a scrappy win, and even though it was more competitive than maybe I initially expected, I still think that both fighters had to dig deep and put on a show. So I saw some people ragging on Hernandez's performance, like, oh, this is not impressive. Should have destroyed her. I'm like, yeah, Julia might be 2-7 in the UFC now, which is terrible record, but she's a tough lady, and it's not as easy as just finish her. This that simple. This girl has only been finished one time, um, or yeah has not been finished. Has only been finished one time in the UFC, so solid fighter, and I think that Fernandez just needs to keep the rhythm going because she got that Wang Kong finish. That's why I was expecting more from her. Wang Kong finish, and then they kind of gave her an easy layup. I was kind of expecting a harder performance after beating Wang Kong, who's been really good in the UFC besides that one slip up. So it's kind of a weird performance where she's able to beat Wang Kong with the finish, but then has a crazy scrap with Stolyarenko. So it was a weird one.
For sure, it was a weird one, but I don't want to dog on her performance at all because Julia was having a really tough time trying to get the wrestling going, and Gabriella it looked phenomenal with the body kicks. She kept keeping her distance, landing those body kicks, and keeping herself away from any of the wrestling. She stuffed them all, and she looked really fantastic out there.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that people want to see a finish. But if you're not able to beat someone like that, but you're still able to put on a performance like that, it's like what we see with Natalie Silva, I think her name is I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah, with her, her and Joshua Van, look at the way that they fight. Like they are pressure fighters. They attack the body. They go hooks aplenty, and leg kick galore. So you're gonna see these dominant performances. I feel like you know we should be able to acknowledge that was a dominant performance and not they should have gotten a finish like how MMA
Mm-hmm.
Twitter is. MMA Twitter
Yeah.
focuses too much on we need a finish for every single fight, but sometimes you just get a dominant
Yeah.
fight and it goes
Exactly.
back and forth. This
I'm
goes
like,
back and forth.
it's not as easy as just getting the fighter out of there, you know? I'm like, sometimes they don't want to get out of there for real, dude. So shout out to Stolyarenko for making it a tough fight.
For sure. Our next fight was the first fairness of the night, and I do want to mention this. Last week we talked about how there was no performance of the night bonuses. None. There was two fight of the night bonuses. This week, no fight of the night bonuses, all performance of the night bonuses.
They can't figure out what's going on with the bonuses.
What's going on here, dude? If they need some bipolar medication, I got them. I totally freaking got them. Like if they
For
need that
real.
shit, cause it's a clusterfuck. It's so stupid. But
Yeah.
this was actually not a performance of the night bonus, even though this was our first finish of the night, and it was awesome. So we had Yoros Medic against Gilbert Urbina, welterweight division, and it ended in the first minute. These two kept trying to shoot on each other, going for big shots. Medic got Urbina in a clinch, landed a beautiful swift knee, and as soon as that came out, he landed another big blow, and then it was good night, Irene. Medic winning, standing over his opponent, and just feeling on top of the world. What a fight! What a
Yeah.
performance! What were your thoughts on that?
He needed that, man. He was coming off of the reverse where he was going getting finished in the first round. So huge comeback performance. And man, this is one of the more entertaining guys in the UFC where he's pretty much guaranteed to get a finish or get finished. So with Medic, you know what you're getting. And it's going to be a war one way or another. Someone's getting slept. And in this case, there was Urbina. And man, I kind of feel for Urbina. 1-3 now in the UFC. I don't know. It might be time for him to be let go. I don't know. He's been finished in back-to-back first-round finishes. He always puts on a show, but it might be best for his career at this point where he's only 29. He still has time to, go back to regional scene, get some wins back under his belt, and then come back in a year or two and refreshed and have more momentum, not have to fight these straight dogs every single time. And yeah, because I like Gilbert when he was on Ultimate Fighter. Back when it was like the Brian Battle season.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of rooting for him, but it might be too much. And I think that it might be time for him to go down delusional scene, but man, it's tough when you know someone like Medic where it's just straight finisher, man. He's just gonna go for the kill, and he did that.
And you're right about that. He was part of the Ultimate Fighter season. Gilbert Urbina, he lost to Tresean Gore during that season. Then he lost to Tresean Gore at the Ultimate Fighter season 29 season. Then lost to Brian Battle in a second round submission. He beat Orion Kosei, and then he lost to Charles Radke, and then now he loses to Uros Medic. Charles Radke's name always triggers me, like, because those post-fight interviews
that
are
little
just
pick-me.
so fucking, yeah, it's too much. But you're right about Uros Medic. 11-3. His last fight was a loss in the first round to Punali Soriano. His last fight prior to that was a knockout over Tim Means, the UFC vet. Which anyone who knows Tim Means knows Tim Means. You know what I mean? Like, so you already know that what kind of fighter that he is, and I'm not even mean that in like a disrespectful way.
Mm-hmm.
But now he beats Gilbert Urbina. He gets himself back into the win column. He starts off the year in January with a big loss. Nearly around close to the end of the year, gets himself a win over Gilbert Urbina. He could get back into the octagon anytime soon.
Yeah.
Like, you know, next pay-per-view, man. Like, go right ahead. Like, get yourself right in there. You want to do another Apex card? Go right ahead. Like, get the fuck in there. But good on him. It was no bonus, which is just a mind boggle. Like,
that is just crazy, bro.
Like, hey, congrats on getting the first finish of the night. That set up the entire pace for the rest of the night. Thank you, man. What's in it for me? The fuck?
Bro,
the fuck
1 minute.
What's in it for you?
Imagine knocking someone out in 63 seconds and you don't get a bonus. Come on.
That's exactly. Our next fight did get a bonus, and wow.
Rightfully so, to be fair.
Rightfully so.
And you got this one right on me.
I was
Edwards. Yeah, I was basically Edwards, Priscilla, and you were Edwards. I was Priscilla, you were at the top. I was like, oh my god.
I was so shocked by that. Because here's the thing.
She went Ultra Instinct.
Medic knocks out Urbina. I say, okay, I have enough time. Go outside. I do a good swim. I swam like 5 laps. I was like fucking going like Michael Phelps. I was like, okay. I put my freaking phone up like on a display and everything in my bathroom. I'm fucking taking a shower, watching the fight. Like, oh, they're doing an introduction. I'm like, oh hell yeah, this should be good. And as soon as the fight starts, I'm like, they're going at it. They're trying to kill each other. And then Jocelyn Edwards standing bangs with Priscilla Cachetta, and bam, knockout, huge
3-piece. Oh my gosh, dude.
And I mentioned this to Sav Jelly that her freaking Priscilla's hair was like fucking going like a propeller for like a helicopter. It was like just left and right while she was getting punched. And I'm like,
bro.
Damn. But
she had no defense, dude.
No. And I promised myself I would never slander women on for the MMA fights because you don't really have to. But do you remember Priscilla Cachetta's UFC debut? I don't know if you watched it.
Deep cut? Shit.
Deep cut.
You actually told me about it. Yeah.
Yes. The co-main event against Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, you told me about this last week, actually. Yeah.
Yes. The strikes were 202 strikes to 0. On the ground. Mario Yamasaki was the referee. And I was tweeting out back in like 2018, 2017, Mario, end the fight, please. Priscilla got better after that fight. She got her knockout. She got some wins. She got some losses. Like she's worked her way up, back up.
Yeah, she was coming off a knockout win.
Exactly. I have no problem with her. But it was this fight. You stand and bang with Jocelyn Edwards, and what was crazy, like they were mentioning, Jocelyn Edwards went from having 7 straight decisions to having three straight first round finishes.
She's locked the fuck in.
She's a dog. She's a freaking dog. And that was the first performance of the night bonus for a knockout in the women's bantamweight division. 2 minutes and 24 seconds is all it took in the first round. Jocelyn Edwards knocked out Priscilla. What were your thoughts when you saw this?
100% just like, wow. Jocelyn Edwards is getting better and better each time I see her. And I think that if she can keep putting performances like that, dude, no doubt she'll be in the top, title contention like within no time. Because if you're putting performances like that against someone like Priscilla, who's tough, has been around for this long, and just making it look completely easy and like she's completely outclassed, doesn't even belong in the same octagon. I literally picked Priscilla, so I was thinking she could dog this one out. And, maybe squeaked by a tough decision, but no way, bro. Jocelyn's like, we're not going to no decision. I'm knocking her ass out right now. And man, dude, the speed was just ridiculous. She was just able to hit her 5 times before Priscilla was able to let a punch go. So it was just 10 out of 10 performance. Like, can't get much better than that. And especially against solid opposition. So she's ready for the top. Throw her to the wolves at this point.
She sure is, and she was recently thrown to the wolves last year in June when she fought Eileen Perez.
Yeah.
She didn't win it, but she learned a lot. And then
Yeah.
the last 3 fights, she's knocked out her opponents. So if anything, they should set up that Perez and Edwards rematch. And
every time she fights someone tough, even if she loses, she'll just freaking level up.
Exactly. Like she went from having that big, decision streak. She got her losses. She came back, and now she's knocked out her last 3 opponents, all in the first round.
Insane.
That's nuts. You know what I mean? Like, well, she choked out Tamiris Vidal in the 3rd round. She knocked out Chelsea Chandler on April 26th, 2 days after my birthday, which I think is pretty crazy. And then knocks out Priscilla in this past weekend.
Insane.
She's doing good work. She's doing great work. And that's what the UFC, of course, wants to see. And she got paid for it with a good bonus. So, congrats to Justin Edwards. You definitely got yourself a good bonus. The next fight deserved the bonus and was the craziest freaking
I've never seen
I've
something like
ever
this.
seen. I haven't seen this in so long.
It was like perfect, like bro.
This, like, so perfect.
He had his face he had his hand on his face, all planned out. Like, this is brutal. I know,
man. So, fight starts off. It's bantamweight division. Toshiomi Kazama against Elijah Smith. And, wow. This was the first time I was watching both men fight. And Elijah Smith has made me a fan forever. It definitely is a new contender of the year. It's definitely one of the contenders for knockout of the year. You have to definitely put it in contention.
Yeah, 100%.
So fight starts off. Elijah's trying to get that quick finish. Kazama goes for the takedown. Does like a whole ass flip and spin or whatever, trying to grab onto Smith's legs, and Smith was landing some beautiful shots. So Smith is in a knee lock, and he's landing elbows, he's landing hammer fists, he's doing whatever he can to be able to get the upper hand. We got a comment. Yo, can't stay too long behind so much and leave a like. Hell
Thank
yeah,
you, the GOAT.
Thank you. It's always great. Thank you so much, GOAT. So we get these two in a grapple exchange. Elijah Smith is trying to get out of the knee lock. He can't, and then it transitions into a triangle choke. And I'm thinking to myself, man, it was arm bar, then a triangle choke. It was so much like Kazama was doing some great grappling on the ground, and then it all ended. 4 minutes and 10 seconds into the first round, Elijah Smith grips the thigh of Kazama and uses his entire back and body strength to lift this man up, all legs, all back, this pure strength, lifts him up as if it's a last ride from The Undertaker. Does a tippy toes, make him a little bit like 2 inches taller, and
little extra power.
Dropped Kazama right on his head, knocked him out cold. It was phenomenal. Very scary, but phenomenal.
Bro, it's like he didn't even only drop him on his head. He slammed his head with his hand. Like, it was completely driven through the canvas. Like, I was scared for the dude's life. Like, for real.
And then afterwards, landed those 2 extra strikes. I was like, bro, you don't need those 2 extra strikes, brother. You're good. Perfectly fine.
Bro. That was very necessary.
I kept looking for updates for Kazama. I was very happy that the UFC broadcast was able to give us an update saying that everything was fine, everything was good. Because it's so awesome to see a knockout like this. Like, I remember Matt Hughes against Carlos Newman, I believe his name was.
Yeah, the double.
Yeah, hold on. Let me look.
It was like he slammed him and he was knocked out at the same time.
Sorry, Carlos Newton. My apologies. Newton. My apologies. Carlos Newton got hit with a slam knockout, lost his welterweight championship to Matt Hughes all the way back in the day. Same exact way. It was also scary too because he was holding, Carlos is holding onto the cage, and Hughes is like dragging him down to hell, drops him on his head, and then beats him there. But what a crazy fucking finish!
That was a throwback finish. It was like we
Exactly.
got thrown back like 20, 15 years, and it was back in Pride days for real. Like you said, shout out to Rampage for that one for real.
Shout out to Rampage as well, like Rampage, Matt Hughes. There's so many crazy slam knockouts we've seen over the decades, and this was
That one
definitely
might have been
one.
the best one in terms of like, bro, he planned that out. Like when I saw his hand just driving the head into it, I was like, dang, dude, this is brutal.
So to mention, Elijah Smith is 9-1. He has not lost a fight since March 24, 2023 at Fury FC 76, where he lost to Reyes Cortez by a knockout in the third round. Since then, he's submitted, decision, knockout, knockout, decision, decision, and then a slam from a triangle choke. This guy can do it all. He can go the distance if he wants to, but he can also just destroy you with a knockout or with anything, or his great defense on the ground. What were your thoughts on the slam knockout, and what would you like to see next?
Yeah, I think get him back in there as soon as possible. Not Kazama. Get him out of here for a while. Let him rest up. But Elijah Smith, get him back in there as soon as possible because that was as close to perfect as you can get. And the momentum he's going to have is just ridiculous after that. They're going to be showing that knockout for the rest of his career. Every time he has a fight, they're going to be able to show that knockout. And people that didn't see that right now, next time they tune in, they're going to be, oh, okay, who's up next? This Elijah Smith guy? I've never seen this guy. Oh, they show the highlights, like, holy shit. That dude just slammed that dude on his head and knocked him out. And that was round one. I'm like, dude, this dude's a real contender. Now is 2-0 in the UFC. One is UFC Contender Series, Dana White Contender Series, and it's looking like he's going to be running through these lower level guys until he runs into a real contender, and then we'll see. We'll see what really happens because right now he's going to need to be sent to the wolves because he's making these guys. That was just too easy, bro. That was just
too easy, yo.
Made him look like a little boy, and he was a grown-ass man, just tossing him around, dude. Fuck it.
Which we don't promote child abuse on this show.
Exactly.
Because I mentioned that before as well.
Hypothetical.
Hypothetical, like ragdolling a child.
Big brother, little brother, they're both kids. How about that?
Exactly. I've been in those shoes before. I've ragdolled my little brother, and I've been ragdolled by the older one.
Oh yeah.
But
it's all love.
Exactly. I don't have love for my older brother, but that's a big story for later on. But Elijah Smith, knockout slam, another performance of the night bonus, and then up next we had Julius Walker versus Rafael Sakea. They kept saying Sakea over. So I'm gonna go with Sakea because I just got the R. But this
is crazy, bro.
It was a crazy fucking fight because it's like anyone who tells me, oh, this wasn't that good, dude, it was scary. Like it was
guys,
no knockdowns.
Yeah.
It was no knockdowns, but Julius Walker, lovely wrestling, lovely grappling. Like he kept pressure, go for the takedown, get him down, and then just pressure him against the cage over and over again, holding his back down. He was doing like a Fluffy Hernandez performance. We'll get into that later, but he was definitely having a lot of fun. Second round, it repeated. Rafael just did not know what the hell he was doing. He did not know how to get out of the wrestling. Even if he tried to, he was just continuing to land back on his back. And then third round came, and he landed some shots to where we thought Julius was going to get finished. And Julius was crazy. The fact that he was taking the shots, and he's like, if I literally duck down like right now and like go right into the takedown, I could get knocked out. And he still did it. He still said screw it. Went for the takedown, kept trying to drag down Sakea over and over again. And in the end, he got himself a unanimous decision win. 30-27, 30-27, 30-26. Rightfully so. It was so much freaking fun. Even though it was one-sided beating, there could have been a moment where Rafael could have got that knockout.
Exactly, yeah. That's what made it such a good fight. 100%. It was like, at first I was like, okay, Walker's dominating, but then I was like, okay, Walker's starting to tire out here, and Rafael could come back, and then he rocked him for a little bit. I was like, oh my God. I was like, is Walker about to choke this? But he clutched up and was able to find his timing and able to survive and get back on top and start controlling the fight once again. And once I saw him back on top, I was like, okay, we're good. I thought we were about to lose that one too. But Julius clutched up. It was definitely not as it was definitely like had some more scarier moments than you maybe expect when he was a minus 650 favorite. But man, he was in there against a dangerous opponent and almost got finished, but he was able to clutch up and got his, I believe, first UFC win after coming in against Alonzo Menifield and losing a split decision. So that was why he was such a big favorite. It's like, okay, you can split decision against Alonzo Menifield, who's a contender. All right, let's give you Raphael. We'll go with that. I'm gonna butcher it. Raphael, and hasn't had a UFC win yet, so they're like, all right, this is kind of a layup, but it was more entertaining and more close, especially at the end, than maybe he expected, but he did what he needed to do to get through it, and that's a big first test. Get that first UFC win. Now you can keep rolling and get that off your chest. Don't have to worry about going winless in the UFC. So now Walker, we'll see what he does next.
Exactly. We'll see what he does next. It should be very interesting because, the light heavyweight division, like we mentioned at the very beginning of the card, it's definitely something, and you need guys like this who are new up and comers are able to have a test in the water of the top 15 to top 10 and see if they are next in line to become a big star, as Deftones would say. That was the end of our prelims.
Almost undefeated for you.
Almost
if it wasn't for the bullshit ass decision.
Fucking bastards. Why me? But
for real, bro. That was just unlucky.
They always do this to me. And you want to know how they always do this to me? Because they did it again. They did it again. Well, I understand why I lost here.
This one's understandable.
Understandable. But I don't understand the Cody Brendan one. I'm still gonna be like fucking.
Bro, what a card for you, bro. You would have had only one loss if it wasn't for those bullshit judges. The Rodriguez one we can agree with, but
now if that was a fairness, now if that was a perfect card, could you imagine a perfect prelim and main card? I would have been walking around my freaking balls, fucking
I know, bro.
high and shit.
We've been doing this for so long. I want to see us do it. I want to see one of us do it.
Exactly, and we keep talking about it. We keep saying that it's gonna.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer. We're getting better.
So close.
We'll have a random card where we do 500, and then we'll be back to our regular ways.
Exactly. I have not received a card just yet, like lately, where I've lost a lot of fights, and I'm really hoping that it's not the case.
For real, bro. Look at your record, bro. 68%. Ridiculous, bro.
I'm doing pretty good for myself. I'm scared though. I was counting the numbers up and I was like, oh my god, like I have not hit 100 losses yet, but I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen before the end of the year at least. I know they're gonna fuck me over in the last couple of months.
It's scary, bro. Making the picks, I'm like, oof.
I know, man.
Especially the competitive ones. Oof.
You want to go for the favorites, but when it's like, oh, he's barely a favorite and he's barely like an underdog, you want to go for the underdog. That's why when I picked Jocelyn Edwards, I was like, I'm nervous to pick her, but I'm gonna pick her because like anything could happen. And like the same thing with with like Julius Walker, because like he was looking a little bit gassed in that second.
Yeah, bro. I thought he was gonna get finished.
And I was like, yo, this is not good. This is not cash money. But hey, he walked out with a big win.
Exactly.
So for that.
We had a great card. Insane card, honestly.
Yes, that's why it keeps getting better and better each week. Main card, UFC, ESPN, Apex. This time around, we got ourselves. What's crazy is that we only had one finish, and the rest. We had two finishes, and the rest of the card was mostly like decisions for the main card. For example, our opener was a middleweight fight. Christian Leroy Duncan, someone we mentioned quite a lot last week about his knockout power and like how he can go forward, against Eric Anders, who used to be undefeated. He fought on the same card as Priscilla Cachoeira and Valentina Shevchenko. He had an undefeated streak on the line against Lyoto Machida, who was just coming off a suspension from steroid use. Lyoto Machida beat him by 5-round decision. So I think it was a split decision, and it was quite a time, especially because it was like, wow, what the hell's going on here? So now he's in the middleweight division. I believe that fight was as well a middleweight division fight. It's been quite some time since I've seen him fight. I've seen him fight against the top of the top, and then also against people who we be like, huh, why is he fighting this guy? For example, so let's. He also Lyoto Machida by split decision in Brazil. This was a Brazil card. Then he beat Trim Williams by soccer kick. Then Thiago Santos elbowed him to death. Elias Theodore, rest in peace,
Yeah.
beat him by split decision. Khalil Roundtree destroyed him. He defeated Vinicius Moreira. He defeated Gerald Meerschaert. He lost to Christoph Jocko. He had a no contest to illegal knees to Darren Stewart. Then he defeated Darren Stewart in the next fight. Then he lost to Andre Muniz. Park Jun Young defeated him by split decision. He did knock out Kyle Dawkins. He defeated Marc-Andre Barnard. And then he went from beating Jamie Pickett and Chris Weidman to now losing to Christian Leroy Duncan, which I want to. We're gonna get into this easily because it was a first round finish.
Hmm.
I feel for Eric Andrews in this situation because it could have been a 3-fight winning streak, but then if those who weren't watching, he got hit with an eye poke in the first like 30, 40 seconds of the fight, and Sav Jelly, who just commented, a couple moments ago with us, I messaged her and I literally said, "We're gonna get a nut kick." 20 seconds later, we got a nut kick, and I was like, "Are the betting odds for freaking like illegal fucking tactics?" Because I could do that
Yeah.
anytime. Like
For real, bro.
any eye poke, you always put nut kick afterwards, and boom, you'll get that.
Hmm.
And it was really crazy. That we got that, and then
It
no
was
point
effective.
deduction.
Yeah.
No point
It was
deduction
back to back.
for those two fouls. Like literally
Harsh
freaking
warning.
near, like harsh warning, and then takedown. He let Eric Anders get back up. Leroy Duncan did, and then landed that big finish, and then dropped them, and then he just ended it right
Beautiful.
there.
Yeah.
Referee did.
Finished him.
Beautiful finish. Beautiful finish, but it feels so sour because the illegal fouls, especially
Hmm.
because you want to see something clean, and then when you're not able to get that, it's definitely like a sour taste in your mouth because you just want to see him continue to do great things. He's a great fighter, Christian Leroy Duncan. It's just that when
Hmm.
you enter it in this situation where you have an illegal move, win the fight, a lot of people are not going to be happy about that, and they will carry that on to your next one, like they have done with Cody Brundage with his like disqualification wins. They're like, oh, that's the
Yeah.
only way you could win, and then they're probably going to be like Christian Leroy Duncan, yeah, nut punch win, like, and I wouldn't put it past them because it really does feel like, we were kind of screwed out in that opener where we could have had something big, and then instead we had that happen. But Christian Leroy Duncan adds on to another win on his onto his streak. Andre Polayev was his last opponent. He defeated by decision. He lost to Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop himself.
Hmm.
And in the last couple of years, since arriving in the UFC in 2023, he's had defeated Dusko Todorovic, lost to Armin Petrosian, defeated Dennis Tololian, defeated Claudio Riberia, lost to Gregory Rodriguez, and the last two fights has defeated his opponents by decision and knockout. He can do it all. What do you think is next for Christian Leroy Duncan?
Yeah, throw him back into the Wolves again, man. He had that setback against Gregory Rodriguez, but he's bounced back nicely since. So may as well see what he can do again. He's 30 years old, so he's still in his prime. So we can still see a run against the ranked opponents, and we'll see what happens this time. We'll see if he gets slowed down kind of immediately when he jumped into the top echelon, or if he can get over the hump this time, because every time he seems to face someone right around those rankings. Armin Petrosian back then, and then Gregory Rodriguez recently. It's like he gets sent back again. So we'll see. We'll see if he can actually get over the hump this time, because he's such an entertaining fighter. He just can't seem to put it together in those big moments. So I think that if he can keep improving, he definitely will be able to break through, because every time he does have a setback, he bounces back. So that's a good sign. So he's not getting discouraged and taking a loss and then just never bouncing back. So I think that he's just such a good athlete that he's bound to be a contender.
Exactly. He's bound to be a contender. It was a nice spinning back elbow and leading up with the punches and to get the finish for him. I am very curious as to see what happens next for him because he just beat like a former undefeated guy who went from headlining pay-per-views over headlining fight nights over Lyoto Machida, Thiago Santos, like having these big wars to now wondering what happens next for Eric Anders. Christian Leroy Duncan of course keeps himself in good hands with a big win. So it should be interesting to see what happens next for him. Um, to go back and look at those middleweight rankings, um, in my opinion, I'd have Christian Leroy Duncan fight Roman Kopylov next because I
I like
feel
it.
that I feel that the number 15 rank is definitely open for a lot of people. Roman
Hmm.
Kopylov almost like beat. I'm not saying almost beat as in like he had a chance, but he had a fight with Paulo Costa. He could have had a winning chance. A lot of things happened in that instance of the third round. Brendan Allen, I believe, recently lost and whatnot. Oh, sorry, Brendan Allen won over Marvin Vettori. My apologies for that. Like Marvin Vettori and Roman Kopylov, those are good opponents for Christian Leroy
Yeah,
Duncan to face. The
I agree.
15 and 13 ranked. I definitely feel like that should definitely be the next fight that we see from
Hmm.
Leroy Duncan. Either that or Abus Magomedov, but I believe Abus is busy with some sort of thing. It could be. It could be. But our next fight, bantamweight division, Miles John against Matsumoto. And wow, this was very, very, very close. It was a very
Yes.
close fight. Um, First round, I had to give it to Gene, of course, because his striking was like unrelenting. His pressure against the cage is really nice. Plus he knows how to definitely defend and land some takedowns.
Hmm.
Miles John came back in the second round, and he was trying to land that knockout blow that he usually lands against other opponents, and he was having some big strong strikes, some amazing moments. Was able to get himself into a tie, and then in the end, I was so conflicted with the ending because I
Hmm.
understand Jin Matsumoto winning. I'm happy about that. You know, that's a win for us. But
Yeah.
it's the fact that Miles John landed those big strikes against Matsumoto and then landed the takedown. And then they were like, "Yeah, no, you're not winning this fight, Miles."
Yeah,
Um,
I feel you.
what what were your thoughts on this fight?
It was one of those fights where it definitely could have gone either way. I'm not mad at it either way. So some people are really particular where if it's a close round, but one guy had one more punch, they'll be like, that guy clearly won the round. But I'm like, it's so hard to judge these really close fights where I'll give the judges some slack if you disagree or agree. I was not mad at the decision. I think that neither man really separated himself too much to really say robbery one way or another. So someone had to win at the end of the day with these 3 round fights where the draw, there's going to need to be a 10-8 round if there's going to be a draw. So the judges had to give a winner, and I definitely am not mad at it because we picked him. I'm sure that people that pick Miles Johns are a little salty about it. So I understand that, but I definitely think that it was a close fight, so I wouldn't call it any sort of robbery. And I think that Matsumoto, I'd probably give him a decision. I think that he was just a little bit ahead, and I think just did a little bit more and was setting up his combos better. And even though Johns was relentless and was trying to get these takedowns and had some success, don't get me wrong, I think that Matsumoto just barely squeaked it out. But I wouldn't have been mad if it went the other way, honestly.
I agree with you. And it was definitely a big test for both men. Miles John has had some good success in the UFC. Jin Matsumoto has had some good success in the UFC.
Yeah, great
So
matchmaking.
great matchmaking, definitely a really good fight to have. With Jin Matsumoto, well actually with Miles John, if we go off first. Last fight was to Felipe Lima, lost by decision. Prior to that, he had a bunch of decision wins over Douglas Silva, DeAndre, Cody Gibson, and Vince Morales. I saw a couple of days prior to the event that he posted like some like highlight montage thing where
Hmm.
he was showing like his wins and now like his record and whatnot in the UFC. And I thought, man, that's pretty crazy. Like, why did he
Yeah.
pop up? And then on like Friday night, I'm looking at the prediction, like, the picks and everything. I'm like, oh shit, Miles John. So I was a little
Hmm.
bit shocked by that. I was like, wow, what the hell? Like,
Bro.
I think they knew what they were doing here. But he defeats Miles John, Jin Matsumoto. Last fight was the Rob Font. He lost. Prior to that, he beat Brad Katona, Dan Orgata, and Casey Tanner in the Contender Series. Prior to that, if anyone did watch the LFI, LFA, you definitely saw Jin Matsumoto, land some guillotine chokes, dominate people in decision wins and whatnot. So him coming to the UFC was very highly anticipated, and he's obviously shown in his in his rounds that he can definitely hang with some of the
Hmm.
best and some of the people who have been in the UFC for quite some time, like Miles John, for example. Um, I'm very excited to see what happens next for him because really it's a very interesting division because bantamweight anything could really happen. So when we go back and look at the bantamweight division, which is currently, led by Merab Dvalishvili, Sean O'Malley, of course, is the number one ranked guy, but he got choked out. Umar Nurmagomedov got beat. Petr Yan is the only one on a winning streak. Corey Sandhagen is next in line for the championship, of course, because of of the way of his previous fight. But when we go to the 15, it's Montel Jackson, Kyler Phillips, Marcus McGee, Vinicius Oliveira, Henry Cejudo, and Ayman Zahabi. Ayman Zahabi just got booked for a fight recently with Chito Vera, so that's already been booked and out of his hands. Montel Jackson, I have no idea what's next for him. Kyler Phillips, I saw he recently fought. We watched that. Marcus McGee had a great performance against Petr Yan. Of course, it went the distance, and then Petr took that fight. But if we're going off of what's next for Gene Matsumoto, I feel like Kyler Phillips is next for him. If we're definitely gonna put him in a contender fight, sorry, not a contender fight, in a ranked fight, then definitely Kyler Phillips or Montel Jackson are next up for him. I wouldn't put him against Marcus McGee because then I feel like you're kind of ruining both guys' hype train.
Yeah.
Marcus still has so many ways to go. Him fighting Petr Yan and standing there with a beast like the former champion, he definitely proved his worth. With Gene Matsumoto, he did great in this fight against Miles John, but it's not something that I would want to see him going against Marcus McGee and then ruining guys both hype and then seeing what happens next, because really this division does need a new filling of top 10. Marlon Vera, I don't know how that's going to work out for him in the future. Song Yadong definitely could be a contender. Corey Sandhagen, Petr Yan, those are guys that are going to be next in line for the championship. But it's all about what happens next. Ayman Zahabi could beat Chito Vera, get into that top 5, want to fight for the championship afterwards. Merab has a lot on his plate, but Merab's a machine. So I'm not
he ain't
worried for the
worried
guy.
for real.
I'm worried for people I'm worried for the people he's gonna have to face.
I agree.
They're gonna be the ones that are gonna get smothered and destroyed. Yeah. Like recently, we only found out that the only contender really for the flyweight division right now is Joshua Van. Like he's the only guy who can go up to Pantoja and say, "Let's duke it out." Everybody else has been dominated and destroyed. So it's gonna be very interesting to what happens next. Our next fight. After we got ourselves another win, we got ourselves the first loss of the main card. First loss, thankfully. Featherweight division, Andre Fili against Christian Rodriguez. Christian, knockout puncher, has great he has some of the great boxing in the division. And he came into this with a big opportunity to fight Andre Fili, who was a massive UFC vet. In the last 10 years, he's had 25 fights.
That's
the hell?
Crazy.
You know what I mean? It's a crazy, crazy world that he lives in, and of course, he keeps coming back for more. It wasn't a split decision of me. I don't count it as a split decision. The judge said split decision. I feel like that's kind of bullshit. Andre Fili put on an amazing performance. It felt like we were watching like a montage of like Patricio Pitbull against Yair Rodriguez, when Rodriguez was landing those body kicks and pushing him back and dominating the whole fight. That's what we saw from Andre Fili. He looked so special out there. His takedown defense was nice. His distance that he kept was perfect, and the striking was crisp. I feel that he definitely came into this with a big chip on his shoulder, especially after his last fight and the things that he's had to go through and whatnot. He came into this one. He dominated it from start to finish. In my opinion, it was a unanimous decision win. What were your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, this was a tough one to call because they were both coming off the loss from the same guy, and with Fili getting finished by Costa, Melquizael Costa. My bad.
Melquizael, I think.
Yeah, but that dude's a beast. So I'm like, all right, both these guys just lost to the same guy. One dude got finished. Fili got finished in the first round by him, and then Rodriguez was able to go all the way. So that was partially why I picked Rodriguez, but also I was just like, Rodriguez, man, every time I pick against him, he gets a win. So I was like, I've pretty much chosen not to pick against him because I remember he beat Rosas Jr., he beat Cameron Simon, he beat Bulgarian, he beat Austin Bashi. I'm like, all these young studs. I was like, okay, Rodriguez is the next one up because he keeps beating all these guys. But then he'll face these older guys with a little more experience, and then he'll lose. So he's just able to beat all these young guys up, but once he fights someone that's older than him, he loses. It's so weird. But for real, dude, I'm happy for Andre Fili, though, because he's a great guy, great fighter. The fighter's fighter, always putting on a show, no matter who's in there against. And he put on a great performance. This was definitely, I think, kind of a crossroads of Andre Fili's career. Is he going to kind of like dwindle away, or is he going to step up and evolve and look better and better? And man, he looked great. The timing was on point. He was able to time Rodriguez all night. And yeah, I definitely think he did enough to get the win. I definitely thought it was a competitive fight, but I think that Fili for sure won the fight. So yeah, the split decision is a little crazy. But yeah, Fili back in the win column, man. And that's always a good thing for UFC fans.
It always is. And this featherweight division is so weird with the rankings because number 15 is Giga Chikazi, then Dan Ige, David Onama, Steve Garcia, Patricio Pitbull, Gene Silva, Yosef Zalal, Josh Emmett, Aljamain Sterling, Lerone Murphy, who fights this weekend, Arnold Allen, Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez, Diego Lopez, and Movsar Evloev in that featherweight division. There's so much happening. There's so many good wrestlers. There's so much good takedown defense happening in that top 5. But I feel that next up, Andre Fili should definitely get a crack at Dan Ige. I feel like
that'd be fun.
Because these two did fight before. February 10, 2024, check right hook to the ground. Dan Ige knocked out Andre Fili.
I remember that one.
Run it back. And now let's see if Andre Fili can get into that rankings. Because come on now, you can't keep pushing it back and say, oh, one more win, then you get a ranked fight.
Yeah,
no, dude,
Mike, he's 35. He needs to get in there.
Now. Exactly.
Before it's too late.
Even if Dan Ige, Giga Chikazi, David Onama, any of those guys definitely set it up against Andre Fili. I'm very happy for Fili to get that win there. Split decision, featherweight division, one of my favorite divisions in the UFC. So it was definitely a fun one to watch. Next fight, Yasmin Lucindo against Angela Hill. And it was just and I'm not gonna diss on Angela Hill. She's a freaking sweetheart. She's awesome. She's hilarious and everything. But this was definitely a fight where it feels so weird with her career because like some fights she'll like go in there, wrestle and dominate the whole aspect, and then there's these fights where she's just trying her best to get into that picture, get into that standing bank and try to take down Lucindo. But it was definitely a different story. Women's strawweight division, unanimous decision win, 30-27, 30-27, 29-28. Lucindo beats Angela Hill. And I really don't have much to say about it, except for I really enjoyed the Lucindo performance, and I enjoyed what she could definitely put on because she went in there and she kept cracking skulls with her hooks over and over again. Hooks aplenty. It was really nice to watch.
Yeah.
But it also interested me to see like what's next for her. You beat a UFC vet like Angela Hill, who deserves all the respect in the world, but now it's all about what's next for you. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was definitely wondering, coming off that loss to Amanda Lemos, where Lucindo's going to be looking because I picked Lucindo, I believe, in that fight, and Lemos just absolutely dominated her and made her look like she did not belong in that top of the division. So it was a huge bounce back performance to just prove that, hey, even though I had that loss, I'm still right here. I'm still a contender. And I think that this is a huge step for her to get more experience against these top fighters. And even though she's had almost 25 pro fights, she's only 23 years old. So that's absolutely ridiculous how young she is. Doing this in the UFC, having this many fights at that age is just absolutely insane. So sky is truly the limit if she can keep improving year over year over year and keep fighting these elite fighters and learning every time she steps in there, because Angela Hill is one of those fighters who's crafty as all hell, has been in there against basically every single good fighter that has stepped into the octagon. Angela Hill's pretty much faced them and put on a good show doing it. And for her to pretty much dominate Hill in this way was really impressive. She was doing it well on the stand-up and as well as the grappling. So really looking well-rounded, and I'm happy for her to able to get back in that win column, because at such a young age, if she started losing a bunch, I think that maybe she'd start getting discouraged. So I'm glad that she's right back in the win column, and it's a great name to have on her resume, Angela Hill. She's an absolute veteran and, been around since so long.
Exactly. Another name that Lucindo beat was Marina Rodriguez, Carolina Kolovacevic, Poliana Viana, Brogan Walker. Like she's defeated some pretty freaking some stellar names on that list.
Yeah.
Angela Hill, like you mentioned, she's been against everybody. Her last fight was a win over Ketlin Souza, and then she lost to Tabitha Ricci. Luana Pineda, she beat Denise Gomez. She lost to Mackenzie Dern, Emily Ducati, Lupita Godinez, Forma Jandaroba. Amanda Lemos, Tisha Pennington, Ashley Yoder, Michelle Waterson Gomez, Claudia Gadella, was like Claudia Gadella, Loma Lookboomy, just Jan Zanaunin.
Insane.
So many freaking names that have either fought for titles or are so freaking close to getting up there.
Yeah.
But this was definitely a fight that Lucindo needed. Definitely a decision that dominates and keeps her up there in the win column. I'm happy for her. I don't know what happens, especially next, because that division it can kind of be a little bit tricky with women's strawweight. If we go and look at the rankings, gonna take a minute because you know how the UFC is with this ranking page. Wang Zhilei Wang, oh sorry, Zhang Weili is the champion. Vernon Jandaroba is the number one ranked. Tatiana Ferrari just had a shot. Yana Zananen had a shot. Amanda Lemos is there. Jessica Andrade, Mackenzie Dern, Tabitha Ricci. Lucindo is number 8 ranked, so she definitely defended her rank. I'm happy for her. But now it's all about what happens next, because in my opinion, if you set up a Lemos rematch, that's really good to happen. But also Yana Zananen against Lucindo could definitely be a striker's war. That's definitely someone that's definitely a fight that I would want to see. A striker's war would definitely be a good one. Tatiana Suarez would be a huge test for Lucindo because she's a great wrestler. She could definitely take down any of the best. And then Verna Jandaroba, she's right there. She could definitely be in that title picture at any given moment. It's just all about
100%.
the rankings and how they book things, and especially with Zhang Weili, what she wants to do next, because she wants to go up and she wants to go and fight, Valentina.
I'd love to
But
see
then,
it.
but it's all about how the UFC can handle this division, because who becomes the
Exactly.
next queen in the division. It's very interesting and tricky.
Yeah.
But congrats to Lucindo over Angela Hill. That was a good one. We got a win on there. That was another win on us. We only have
Let's
one
go.
loss in the whole card. Our next fight was a very, very tough one to pick.
Yeah,
Like Steve Erceg, O'Day Osborne. O'Day came into this saying like, I'm ready to kick some ass, and boy, did he ever. It was really nice to see a good performance from him, but it was not enough because Steve Erceg came out of the freaking blue and decided to say, I might be labeled as a self-proclaimed best boxer in the bantamweight division. Sorry, I believe it was flyweight division, was it, or bantamweight? Yep, flyweight division it was. And
Yeah,
then
now he moved up. Yeah.
now he moved up to bantamweight. He wanted to test himself out, and did he ever? He wrestled like
He
his
got
life depended
tested.
on it.
Yeah, he got
He
tested
got
early.
tested. He got tested early. It was a very scary situation, and he needed to get himself, on the upper hand. Steve, a lot of people, of course, have their thoughts about him of he lost to like some really good contenders, or like that definitely gives him a lot of props. But then there's also the people who say he lost to those contenders, so he's just not that good. Um, I feel like it's an in between,
Yeah.
because you could be ready and then you can't be ready, because it also really depends on how you walk into that cage. I'm not saying the way that you step into your corner, the things that you tell your coaches, but it's about how your other opponent is. And when you're facing a guy like Pantoja, it's a
Yeah.
very scary situation. Piker, our friends, it's a very scary situation. These guys are killers and these guys are murderers. So it was very interesting. Urseg did whatever he could. He used some takedowns. He got the rear naked choke. And then here's the thing: I put on my predictions for verdict that I want a Steve Urseg submission. When he locked in that rear naked choke, I literally looked around and I was like, "Brother, please get this for me. Like, this would be so freaking tough." But it was not the case, but it was a decision win, unanimous decision win,
Yeah.
29-28, 29-28, 29-28. Steve Urseg gets back into the win column over O'Day Osborne. He keeps his
Clutched
job
up.
and clutched up. I like how you must be like, clutched the fuck up. I was like, yeah,
For
brother,
real.
hell yeah.
Literally, bro.
Like, I
I'm
was so
like,
happy.
I thought we were cooked on that pick. I was like, uh-oh. This pick is looking like bad, dude. Because As much as I love Steve Erceg as a person, I remember when he first got that title shot, I was like, I know it was like some weird circumstances, some fighter like got hurt or something, and I was like, damn, he's getting a title shot off after beating Matt Schnell. I'm like, that is fucking crazy, bro. No disrespect in Matt Schnell, but I'm like, title shot off for that is crazy. So after he lost, my opinion changed because he put on such a dominant performance versus Pantoja where he didn't win, but it was so competitive, and some people thought he did win. And then he got knocked out again, and I was like, okay, maybe he was rushed. Maybe I was right all along. Maybe he shouldn't have been rushed this long. But then he put on a competitive performance versus Brandon Moreno, another tough fight. He didn't get the win, but it was another tough fight. So I'm like, okay, he can hang. And then he almost gets knocked out in this next fight. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, yep. I'm like, that chin. I'm going through all these emotions. I don't even know what to think. But then he comes back and then he clutches up and gets the win. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, he is playing with my emotions right now. I'm like, I do not know what to think with him because he'll look like really good one fight and then get knocked out the next. And then you look really good the next fight, but not able to win it. And then this one, I'm like, I thought he was about to get knocked out again. I'm like, oh my gosh, history repeats itself. But thank goodness he was able to. Maybe it was because the weight cut, though lack thereof, moving up, he was more durable because Ode was cracking him in those first rounds, that first round, and then Ode was able to, or Steve was able to survive Ode's onslaught, and then those next 2 rounds, he was like, all right, I'm just gonna hang on and do what I can to survive, and he did that, and just squeaked out those last 2 rounds, and he clutched up, man, because I thought he was about to be finished. I was like, oh
I thought so
my
too.
gosh, dude. Ode was about to just have the performance of his life. But it wasn't quite meant to be. I feel bad for Ode a little bit, where that would have been an insane performance, and he's kind of had a rocky going lately. But man, he's one of those fighters where when he's hot, when he's in a rhythm, Ode is just so fast. It's ridiculous. It's crazy to see. But then I don't know if he gasses out or the other guys just eventually get his timing. And then, yeah, he was just not the same fighter in those second and third rounds. And Steve got the better of him just barely, man. What a crazy fight, man. What a turnaround. I was like, wow, this could not have gone worse. But then I was like, oh, okay, he's starting to come back. And then by round 3, I'm like, he's got this in the bag. I was like, all right. Shout
And
out Steve.
like you mentioned, the mental timing. I feel like the mental timing of those takedowns was definitely fucking with Ode Osborne because Ode was trying to land that spinning heel kick to the body, and every
Yeah.
single time he kept getting dragged back down. So I feel like his game plan of let me land this crucial strike and put this guy down was affected by the shocking surprise of Steve Erceg's wrestling that
Mm-hmm.
came with the clutch. And I feel like what you mentioned, moving up a weight class definitely helped him out a lot because you're not, body's not drained and you're not focused on.
Mm-hmm.
He was good at flyweight, but you get better when you get your strength back at bantamweight and then you're full health.
Yeah.
Um, he's not ranked. Neither man was ranked for this fight, so definitely it was one of those like let's see where it goes here. And we did mention before the bantamweight division, it is weird because Montel Jackson is the gatekeeper, and then the number one man is Sean O'Malley, but we all know Sean O'Malley is not really the number one man. It's
Yeah.
just that they have to book things differently.
Mm-hmm.
They have to put the rankings all differently, but Steve is definitely somebody that's going to have to work his way up this time around. He's not going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
give no freebies. You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to get given a shot to Murad Wallace Willie. And if you are, your wrestling is not going to hold up for him, and your striking better be crisp because Murad Wallace
Mm-hmm.
Willie is just too freaking much for most people and most for the entire division. I feel.
Yeah.
Uh, our next fight, the main event,
Wow.
Anthony Fluffy Hernandez against Roman Dolidze. Uh, wow.
This
Fluffy,
is
Fluffy,
crazy.
Fluffy continues to make me a believer, and he
Mm-hmm.
continues to make me just love everything that he does. He's
Mm-hmm.
so good. And
Yeah.
I love the way that he praises his coaching. They're like they want me to go out there and use my kickboxing, but they tell me to be quiet and patient and use my wrestling. And at some point, I was getting a little bit annoyed. So first round starts off. I'll mention why I was getting annoyed. But first round starts off, and Roman was trying to crack Anthony. He was doing some nice work, leg kick, trying to stop the momentum and wrestling of Fluffy Hernandez. And the second round came. You guys cracked a bit. Third round came. And its second round came cracked a bit, takedown. Third round cracked, takedown. It was just a repeat cycle of over and over again. You get your jaw cracked, you get your head knocked back, and then you get right back down to the ground against the cage, especially body weight all over him. And he was just trying to get him. He was trying to get him in a lot of submission holds throughout the second and third round, but of course nothing was really landing for Fluffy Hernandez. But I don't think he was looking for the finish just yet until the fourth round came, and it was controversial, I will say, but it was also dominant because the controversial part comes at the the illegally downed opponent that we always get mentioned about every single time by Sean Anik, and then the knees that were colliding against Roman Dolidze's head. I was like, that's pretty illegal, but like I kept for years them saying, oh, you can't do that, you know. Oh,
take away Peter Yan's title.
Take away Peter Yan's title, take away points, do all this shit. And then freaking Fluffy Hernandez wraps his arm around Dolidze's neck like it's a hook, like he's hanging at Adam Page, and then drags him to the depths of hell to make him tap out. I thought that was the most unique submission I've ever seen, of just dragging somebody like that, like
bullying him.
Wow. Because I mentioned, I was like, Roman Dolidze has a cinder block head. He's so big. He's such a wide fella that him and Hernandez, there was a height difference and there was a strength difference to look between them. But Hernandez is so fucking phenomenal with his wrestling. Dragged him down, pressured the body on top of his back, and has kept nailing those big strikes. All they had to do was take his time, and all they had to do was like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to finish you from the back, but I'm gonna punish you so much that when you finally get up, you can't even defend yourself. And he couldn't. The illegal knees to the head, no point. And here's the thing: there was a point deduction, but on Dolidze's part for grabbing the fence. For grabbing the fence, you get a point deduction. But illegal knees, dude, CTE, brother, you better take those knees.
For real, it was almost like it was so dominant. They're like, it's about to end anyway. They're like,
right?
For real.
They're like, oh, what's the point deduction gonna do for us? You know what I mean? Like, who cares?
Yeah, because that was just so dominant. It was just.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on this finish?
I was like, as the fight went on, I was like, okay, Anthony's dogging him. Okay. I'm like, okay, careful with the hands down. I'm like, okay, Dolidze is starting to hit him, but okay, it's not having an effect. Okay, Dolidze keeps hitting him, no effect. Anthony keeps walking through it, bullying him. No effect whatsoever on Anthony. And man, dude, Anthony was just doing whatever the hell he wants in there. And Dolidze just got bullied the entire time, bro. That was the first time I've seen a bullying of this magnitude, where it's like two guys that are supposed to be competitive, but one dude just completely destroys the other guy, embarrasses him. Honestly, dude, like Dolidze was hitting him with his best shot, and it was doing nothing, like absolutely nothing. And Hernandez just bullied him to the point where it was like that choke was like so easy for him. He's like, all right, I'm just going to end it now. It was almost like he was just having fun with him until he was like, okay, I'll just finish him to get it out of here.
Exactly.
Because he was just having fun. Like, he says he has fun doing it, and I'm like, how do you have fun doing that? But when you see these types of performances, I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty fun when you're able to just dominate your performance, dominate your opponents, and just put on performances like that. So, like, 7 times in a row now, I'm like, I'd be having fun too, man. So get him in there with the best of the best. Throw him in there with the top 5 contender, top 3, top 1, champ. Fuck it. I don't give a fuck, dude. He's ready.
Yeah, Fluffy Hernandez is ranked 10 right now. Number 9 is Roman Dolidze, so he definitely gets into the top 9.
Yeah.
But he should definitely be fighting bigger contenders,
top guys. Like, if you can make Dolidze look that easy and finish him when he's never been finished in his entire career, and you're able to finish him whenever the fuck you want and just play with him the entire time, that was just one of the most impressive performances I've seen by a contender in a long, long time, where they just made the other guy just look like he did not belong in there. Like, he made Dolidze look like some random dude that got off the street. Like, that was crazy. Like, some random dude that, like, looks like he could fight, but he actually can't. That's what it looked like. I'm like, wait,
yeah.
what?
And another thing, Roman Dolidze has some good cardio. And also, he has Murad the Wallace Willie in his corner. Those Jordans. And here's the thing. Murad, I wonder what was going through his head when his boy was literally going through a Murad-style beating.
For real.
just wrestle until you basically choke the guy out. Like Murad was probably like freaking calling up, Fluffy Hernandez's coach and saying, "We'll take him." Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
we'll take him. We'll
We
make him
propose a trade.
crazy. Like,
Yeah.
we propose a trade. You know what I mean? Like we'll take him. But
Bro.
Dolidze at number 9, Hernandez number 10 ranked. The people who are above them: Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker, Caio Barala, René de Ritter, Izzy, Hamza, Sean, Nazarini. We know Hamza and the champ are busy this weekend, but in my eyes, if you need another headliner, Caio Baralo, Anthony Hernandez. Those two definitely takes out. It definitely takes out the who should be the next contender in line, because those two are fucking dominant. And then after that, you have Caio Baralo against Anthony Hernandez. The winner of that face off against like Sean Strickland, Nasruddin Imavov, one of those two guys, get themselves into the top 3 rankings, and then boom, title pictures right there. And in my opinion, Anthony Hernandez, in my opinion, should fight next up Sean Strickland. Get him to the top 3. Get rid of Strickland already, and let freaking let Hernandez just smother him with wrestling and chokeouts. It will be perfect.
Strickland's been not very active. Like, he's been fighting people at his buddies' fights instead of in the octagon. I'm like, come on, bro, stop fighting all these influencers and random fucking fighters who beat your teammates, and start, doing the talk in the octagon. Because, I'm a fan of Strickland when he's actually active, not just talking on Twitter 24/7.
Yeah. And that was the end of our card. So when we go back to it, the performance of the night bonuses went to Jocelyn Edwards for her big knockout, Eliza Smith for his slam knockout, Kristen Leroy Duncan for opening up the main card with a big knockout, and then in the end, Anthony Hernandez got the last performance of the night bonus for his submission over Roman Dolidze. No fight of the night bonuses were handed out at all, even though Gene Matsumoto and Miles John could have gotten a fight of the night bonus. What do you call it? Steve Ursa against Ode Osborne, fight of the night bonus right there. Like, those are 2 fight of the night bonuses that you could have easily given, because it was back and forth action. But the UFC doesn't believe in paying the fighters, and so with a $7.7 billion deal with Paramount,
that better up the bonus.
How much is going to affect fighters? There's
exactly,
no more pay-per-view points either. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
No more pay-per-view buys, no more pay-per-view points at all. Everything's free. So it's like, oof.
I know, yeah. So they need to make these fighters some more money if they're making billions. I'm like, come on, people. Come on.
So ending the card there, another Apex card in the books. Next up, we have UFC 319 in Chicago, Illinois, at the United Center, where the Bulls play, of course, and where many, many events have been held from AEW. Now we will be getting a massive freaking card that has every fight, making me feel like, damn, this is Christmas morning. But I do want to mention one thing beforehand. Before we get into the main event, Anthony Hernandez was just a guest right now on the El Hawani show. He's predicting that Dricus du Plessis will deliver yet another upset, and he will beat Hamza Chimaev. He will be in attendance and he will be in attendance and wants to fight the winner.
I love it. Yeah, bro. I'm like,
going from 9 rank to being the championship contender will be tough. Elijah Smith has told the El Hawani that he'd like to return in November or December for his next fight. I don't mind that.
Not at all. Yeah.
Take your time off, enjoy time with your family. You know what I mean? Don't go back in there and harden up your body. Do what you gotta do. Michael Chandler's already repping Paramount. I mean, like, it's so funny. Dana White has told CBS Sports that UFC plans to do 4 big events per year throughout the new broadcast deal. He says the planned White House event will, of course, be one of those. White also claims the new deal improves the chances of superstars like Conor McGregor and John Jones returning. Brother, we don't do that. We don't care. We have Hernandez. Get out of here, buddy. Like, come on now.
They're like, that $7 billion will be going directly to Conor's payday, getting him to fight Michael Chandler finally.
$7 billion. Sorry, $5.6 billion to Conor McGregor. Like, okay, buddy. So this card that we have upcoming this Saturday night, UFC 319, du Plessis against Hamza Chimaev. We've been waiting for this one. I keep raving about it because we've waited so long for Hamza to finally get to the title. We said years ago, when's he going to get to the title? And if he does, what's going to happen then? Well, we're gonna find out this Saturday night.
Oh yeah.
The whole world will be watching. This is gonna have big pay-per-view buys. I don't care what anybody says, and it should, because this fight from start to finish, if you're a true UFC fan, you know you're gonna have a good night. So
Oh
when
yeah.
we get off into it, the early prelims are already fucking stacked.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Early prelims, and then the main card. So we get into the early prelims. Nursultan Ruzabov, who we just mentioned was a monster, will fight another monster in Brian Battle.
Oh yeah. Legend.
Yeah.
I love Brian.
Then we get a legend in Edson Barbosa against Rakar Close to end the early prelims, which I love how they show the early prelims and prelims on Disney Plus. Like, could you imagine you have a kid and the kid's watching Bluey, and then you say, "Get the fuck out of here! I'm watching the fights." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would shut. All the respect to
For real.
Bluey and the
Brian
rest of the gang.
Battle. Yeah,
Exactly.
for real.
Brian Battle. He's gonna leave people Bluey. Like, come on. Now. But Edson Barboza, Jarkar Close, and then for the prelims, opener to that is Chase Hooper. He's back.
Oh yeah, let's go Chase.
Against Alexander the Great Hernandez. I remember when Alexander Hernandez came in, he knocked out Beneil Dariush on short notice, his first fight in the UFC. And everyone was like, "Oh wow, he should be doing big things, right?" It didn't end up being that way.
He was going for Cerrone, yeah.
Donald Cerrone humbled him so bad, and then there was the end for that. And then the next man to get the Alexander the Great nickname was Volkanovski, rightfully so.
Worked out well.
And it just stuck with him. So Chase Hooper against Alexander Hernandez, lovely. Women's strawweight action, which, by the way, we only have one women's fight on this card. What's happened? We went from 3 fights to now 1. Well, it would be Jessica Andrade, the UFC vet and future Hall of Famer, against Lupi Godinez.
Oh,
Should be a fun.
Banger.
Should be a lot of fun, because that definitely will determine what happens next with their strawweight. The strawweight division continues to get really interesting. Our next fight, Michael Oleksarek. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I feel bad for that. But he will be fighting Gerald Meerschaert in the middleweight division, so that should be a lot of fun. And then our featured prelim will be King Green, formerly known as Bobby Green, but King Green, of course, after his name change, against Carlos Diego Ferreira. Very, very tough battle.
Two veterans.
Diego Ferreira, who has a lot of strength in that upper body. It could make it an early night for himself. And then the main card, Tim Elliott will welcome back Kai Asakura to the Octagon in the UFC for a really, really interesting flyweight battle. Kai Asakura, in his first UFC fight, fought at 100 Pantoja, got choked out, I think in the 3rd round. Tim Elliott, who has a lot of submission skills. He has fought for the flyweight championship before when he fought Demetrius Johnson many years ago. Lost that fight, has still worked his way up, and this should be very brutal. Very, very brutal. Next fight, middleweight division. Jared Cannonier welcomes back Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page is back in action. Jared Cannonier, who is a dog who can definitely go through any of the ropes and go through hell and high water to make sure that he gets that win. It should be a lot of fun. After that, this fight feels like it should be a UFC Fight Night headliner because these two are so freaking interesting. Jeff Hands of Steel Neal against Carlos Prates. Prates, I believe, recently lost to Ian Machado Gary. Jeff Neal, in his last fight, I forgot who he fought. Let me go, very down to go check it quickly. His last fight was a win over Rafael dos Anjos by TKO knee injury. Last fight to that was a loss to Ian Machado Gary. So guys coming in on a loss to Ian Machado Gary coming into this middleweight fight. It should be very, very interesting and should be a knockout coming in. I feel like this should be a third round, very few seconds knockout. It should be fun. Co-main event, Aaron Pico finally gets his UFC debut. He'll be fighting Lerone Murphy. Should be very hard for Pico.
Yeah, tough fucking matchup.
Lerone Murphy is not gonna, come, bullshitting around. It's gonna be just like how it was for Patricio Pitbull, and it's gonna be like how it was for who was the other fella?
It was Pitbull and then Patchy Mix.
Patchy Mix. Like, those two had some hard battles. Patricio Pitbull bounced back from it. It'll take a minute before we can see Mix bounce back from it. But Aaron Pico should be very interesting to see, especially a co-main event slot. They're definitely giving these guys that big spot. And then the main event, 5 rounds, Dricus du Plessis defending the middleweight championship against Hamza Chimaev.
Let's
go. Wait for that one. I cannot wait for that one. this whole card is already screaming like, damn, this is gonna be beautiful. I don't care how my record looks after that. All I care for is
Yeah,
this.
facts.
All I care for is a fight of the night bonus. Give these fighters some goddamn
Amen.
money.
Facts,
Uh,
though.
Um,
Exactly.
but another great episode, another great week, another great weekend of fights, another
Heck
great
yeah,
episode of
brother.
Talktagon with you and I. And this weekend is gonna be so much freaking fun. I'm very, very excited for it. What fight are you excited for the most?
Ooh, that's got to be the main event, just because so much years of Kamzat being a title contender. Finally, we're gonna see if he can become the champ that people have been saying he's been gonna be champ since like 2021, like 2020 when he was first coming in, like destroying everyone. People were like, this guy's gonna be double champ, triple champ, heavyweight champ, light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight, quadruple
Super
champ.
heavyweight, even
Yeah.
like everything. He's gonna do it all.
So the fans and hype has been building for years at this point. So it all comes down to this Saturday night against Mr. Goofy himself, Dricus Duplessis, somehow always able to get it done. So this is gonna be super fun.
I'm gonna say this. If you see in between rounds he kisses his coach or his coach grabs his crotch, just put all the money on Duplessis. Just put it all
Yes,
because that's
facts.
that's gonna boost them. But to end off the card for that UFC fight now we just talked about, we end off with pretty solid records each other. 9-3 for you, 10-2 for me. It's getting better and better each week and whatnot. And of course
We're
you
cooking.
always know we're cooking, and we always know how I always end these shows off with it.
Oh, especially
So,
because you be cooking me.
man, well,
Oh,
I would like to know, what time is it?
I don't know, man. It's like I can't tell. My clock's a little messed up.
I see what it is. From this poster, it says winning time. And it's another
Um,
week, another big win, another great card, and another fun time between you and I. We're going
oh
to talk
yeah,
about these for an hour and 30 minutes or so, however long
heck
that we
yeah.
can get to. If they give us announcement like the Paramount deal every week, we get to have ourselves like, a little bit of a chit chat beforehand before we get all into the action. But it was so much fucking fun. It was another great card.
Always.
It was a fun Apex card, and that's really weird to say because Apex is not that good, buddy. Like
Yeah.
it gets you. It definitely is like one of those like, huh, how is it gonna affect us this week and next week? But so anyways, my hat just dropped completely. Anyways, where can they find you on socials, my buddy Max?
Follow me at Combat Convos on Twitter/X, and then follow me at Brawl and Drawl on Instagram. My Combat Sports art account for a bunch of cool art of UFC athletes and boxing as well.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, on talk to sorry, who else for Rami? Sorry, I just got a text message. I'm trying to focus on this, and I get a text message from one of my friends, and like they're sending me something about whatever she's talking about. But yeah, you can find me on my socials at Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and anywhere else that I have actual socials on at Who Else for Rami. If you add me on Facebook, I will shoot you. I have made myself abundantly clear that I will shoot you because no, that's only for family and friends, and none of my family even has it. So I just have like close friends on there, and that's really it. But of course. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. It was another great edition of Talktagon, episode 26. We're getting 20. We have I think 24, 23 more episodes to go before Max and I have to spar each other wherever it
Exactly.
may be. I feel like that's what we'll have to decide on. Whoever has the winning record by that time, the other person has to go like California, Arizona. I feel like
Oh,
that's
that's
where
not a bad idea.
it could be fun. It could be interesting. What do you call it? But at the end of the day, I feel like it'll always be love and all love and fair war.
Oh yeah.
And it's always a great time. I cannot wait for the next card this weekend. UFC 319, Dricus Duplessis defends the middleweight championship against Hamza Chimaev. A fight and everyone's been waiting for once in a lifetime. You do not want to miss this. Anything could happen. Upsets, new champions, anything. So thank you so much to everybody who tuned in, all 200 plus people who definitely stood by and listened to us yap this whole time. It's always
Shout out to
appreciated.
y'all.
It's always loved, and I will always forever be grateful. Thank you so much for another great talk. We will see you next Monday. Definitely next Monday we will be back because this card should be very exciting. And the whole week should be very exciting with the UFC Paramount deal. We'll learn more details, percentages, pay-per-view buys, all sorts of things. So once again, thank you so much to everybody who tuned in. This is another edition of Talktagon with Max and Rami and Max. Dun, 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 dun. And so thank you again. We will see you next week. See you later.
Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! That's the wrong word.
Thank you.